Welcome back, everybody. Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. All right, today we're going to be posing a question, and this seems to be a reoccurring theme all across the internet, and people seem to have this strange beef with PSA. It's like people either love Palmetto State Armory or they hate Palmetto State Armory. So we're going to dive into this subject a little bit, and I tell you, I'm one of the people that's in the camp that I think they provide a very crucial and essential service to the 2A community, and give me a little time to explain my reasoning. I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at Sonoran Desert Institute for supporting today's video. If you're looking for a career in gunsmithing, they are your go-to source. They've got awesome curriculum, great instructors, really good distance learning programs. If you want to be a gunsmith, you want to run a gun business, you want to fly drones, there's a ton of things that they offer. So check them out, SDI, Sonoran Desert Institute. Check out the link below. Tell them Eric sent you over there. So, there seems to be a love-hate relationship with PSA, and, I'm not one to really dive in the weeds on gossip and things like that. That's not really my lane. However, I felt like it would be cool to make a video about this because I do have a decent amount of experience with PSA products. I've, shot their dagger. I do have a dagger. I've got one of their rock pistols in 5.7. I have the Jekyll, which is great, and they just released a 308 version of this gun, by the way, which is really cool. And of course, their AKs are really nice. So why the beef? Why is it that people tend to have some kind of strange affliction against Palmetto State Armory's products? Is it because their products are bad? No, it's not because they're bad. The thing is, I think that Palmetto gets a kind of a weird beef because people think, well, because this is an affordable gun, because you can buy a dagger for $250, well, it must not be very good if they're only charging $250 for it. I think that people tend to get kind of wrapped up in the minutia of, something needing to be expensive to be good quality, and that's not necessarily always the case. Now, is that the case in some situations, right? Do you get more for your money depending on the brand that you spend your money with? I mean, yeah, like, if you buy a nice Noveske AR or a nice Wilson Combat AR or something like that, or, look, Daniel Defense makes good stuff. I love FN. I've owned and do own just about any FN gun you can ever imagine. I love FN's rifles. I love my SCAR. Is that to say that a SCAR will do anything that a 308 Jekyll won't? I mean, I guess it just really depends on your perception of value, what you pay for your, product versus what you're getting. And I think that Palmetto State Armory actually has a very good track record because they do sell their products at such an affordable rate that a lot of those products are out there in the wild and they're getting a lot of users, giving feedback about them. So if you see, and I'm not in no way doing any sort of damage control, I'm just simply stating the fact, Palmetto State Armory does not know that I'm making this video. I'm just making this video on a whim just for fun, just for us to get into the subject. But you see it on many forums where people will bash a PSA product because they had some sort of an issue or something. Someone bought a $400 AR, or even better, they bought a $219 parts kit on sale and added a receiver and built themselves a sub $300 AR, and there's cycling issues or it's overgassed. Well, of course it's overgassed. It's a gun that's going to have a gas port that's going to be fairly large, and yeah, a gun in that price range, it's going to need to run whatever you can put in it. So yeah, they may be a little overgassed, right? Some people have complained of quality control, but the issue becomes that how many thousands of people had a really good result out of their products? Because they're putting so many products out there. I mean, they've sold a ton of daggers because this is a really great value-minded Glock 19 copy, right? I wouldn't even call it a copy, but it is compatible with Gen 3 accessories, slides, triggers, etc., so on and so forth. Is that to say that people have not had a few issues out of their daggers? Well, of course, any product can have potentially an issue. That is the nature of manufacturing. When you're making something, especially in quantity, there's always going to be a chance that a potential lemon slips out the door. That happens. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're buying, not to get into the subject, but have you seen Ferrari's welds on their frames, right? Go and look at it, right? A Ferrari, okay, which is a luxury car, and some of those welds on those frames look rather childish, okay? and you're paying for this fancy name and you're getting some really crude looking welds on those frames. Not saying that every frame is welded that way, but the point is, even a Ferrari can put out a crappy frame on their car. You know what I mean? It happens. You know, so the point is that, you know, can you really base your opinion on a product based on what one or two people say about something being bad if thousands of people have really good result out of the product? Now also, I know you've seen many videos out here that various YouTubers have made, myself included. In fact, the very products on this table, I have videos on every single one. I have a video on this Jekyll. I have a video on this AK here. I've got a video on this dagger. I have yet to do a video on the 5.7 Rock pistol, mainly just due to time constraints. I just haven't had a chance to film a video on it, but I do have a video coming up on that particular gun, as well as Smith & Wesson's new 5.7, by the way. It's not really new anymore, but it's new to me. Anyway, I digress. The point is, like many YouTubers who have put out content on these guns, a lot of times you'll see an overwhelmingly positive experience. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's some YouTubers out there that have shared, you know, some negative experiences with PSA products, but I want people to kind of keep in the back of their mind that when they're looking at a, you know, influencer, I hate to use that freaking word, but when you're looking at someone talking about guns on the internet, especially if they're doing reviews or something like that, look, take things with a grain of salt. That is their experience with that particular item at that particular time in that particular moment. Is that to say that this gun might not pose an issue later, or this one have an issue later or something, or that they'll run really great for 10,000 rounds in the future? Who knows? You have to look at every piece of content that you're consuming as if it is a snapshot in time of that very moment. And to take into context what you're looking at. Are you watching a 2,000 round torture test on the gun? Are you watching a meltdown video where I destroy a gun on purpose to see what it can handle? Or are you just looking at sort of a first look video where we take the gun out and put a few hundred rounds through it and see how it runs and just give some basic opinions on what we think about the gun as a design and as an engineering aspect, and to give an honest feedback on what we think could be improved or what we feel like they did really well? Sometimes you have to look at a piece of content from that perspective. You know, we don't do puff pieces. We don't do videos where we just over glorify a product. All we do is we discuss what we see in front of us in that moment. I say we, it's really me. I don't have a mouse in my pocket, y'all. But the point is, I think PSA has done a fantastic job. And the reason I think that they do such a good job is because their products are affordable. They're made right here in the U.S. They employ a whole bunch of veterans. They are veteran owned and operated. And their whole sort of mentality of why they do what they do is to arm the common man with tools that they can put into common use, right? And to design new and interesting things that, you know, might give someone access to. I mean, I think the Jekyll is a really freaking cool gun. Now, I did opt to SBR this one, and you know what? I've been running this one, and it runs fantastic. This is a great freaking gun. I really love this gun. If there were a bump in the night and this was the first thing I thought to grab, I would feel very, very capable with this particular gun. And I tell you, it's fantastic. With this Gideon red dot, this is a Mediator. The Gideon that is on this gun, I've shot this in the video out to 300 yards, and it actually connected quite well. So I really like this gun. I think PSA did a great job. And what really makes this gun the tits is to get it in 300 blackout and run it with a suppressor and have, you know, kind of a nice quiet snooping around rig. And it does suppress quite well. And it does great with a 5.56 suppressor as well. But I like their AKs. I mean, you look at what PSA is doing now with their crinks. Now, this is an older AK pistol that they make, but they do have crinks now, and they also have some SBS ready and SBR, not SBS, but SBR ready AKs that are really cool. You know, they have the correct folding stock, and basically from the rear back, you know, it's straight up 105 or 104 series. And then they have a short barrel, like the correct length barrel, like a 10.5 inch barrel, and then they'll have the muzzle device pin and welded to make it out where it'll transfer as a rifle. Well, then you simply do your paperwork, get your tax stamp back, remove the muzzle device, and now you got a straight up like 105 series, like it's off the rack from Russia, which is really cool. You know, that's a nice thing to have, a very useful tool that you can buy for, you know, a basic version you can get for like 1,100 bucks, which, you know, there's probably a lot of people there that would even scoff at the idea of paying 1,000 bucks for an AK. But the truth of the matter is AKs have not always been super cheap. I mean, early on you could get the Wassers, and I remember when Century was importing Wasser tins from Romania, and I believe they still do import Wassers. But the Wassers were, I think, when I was young, they were like $3.99. Now, of course, they're not that cheap anymore. But the point is that if I want something that is in the same lane as a Crink that PSA sells, then here I am going to have to spend probably $2,000 or $3,000 on a parts kit from Russia. Then I'm going to have to pay someone like Jim Fuller to go through and work his magic and actually make it a decent gun. And now I'm in it for probably $5,000 to have a Crink, whereby I'm not saying Jim Fuller is not the best AK guru in the world. He is. But not everybody has money to pay Jim Fuller to work over a really good parts kit into a legitimate Russian Crink. PSA does offer an option where you can buy a Crink for $1,000, and you know what? You've got a damn Crink, and you know it may not be a Jim Fuller build, but damn if it won't be a really good gun. Okay, overall, good setup. Here's my Saiga. Okay, now I want to show you this one. This is a 5.45 Saiga that I purchased as a standard sporting rifle quite a long time ago. Now we're talking when you could pick these basic rifles up for, I think I paid $329 for it. And that's new. That's not a discounted rate. That was what that was retail. And of course I went through and I added a whole complement of 922R compliant accessories, and you know, this Polish barrel stock alone was probably $500 to try to locate this thing. This is a very difficult stock to find. I added a Moloch grip, a US made Moloch grip. And of course, U.S. magazines and slotted forend. And by the time you move the trigger back, put all the trigger in it, and add all the necessary parts, thread the barrel, cut the muzzle device back, all that sort of stuff. I got an RS Regulate mount. I mean, I mounted a Aimpoint M5, Comp M5 on this. So it's not a cheesy red dot. It's a good, legitimate red dot and a proper mount, real low. By the time you do all the work to get this thing where it needs to be. Now, yes, this is a legit Russian AK. This is a great Russian AK. This is one of the only AKs I will never get rid of, is this Saiga, and I love it. It's fantastic. It shoots flat. It's accurate. I've actually shot this gun with a full power optic on it out 700 yards, believe it or not, and that's a pencil barrel AK. This is a great gun, but it does represent a considerable investment. Even though I bought this gun probably 12, 15 years ago, I still had to spend probably a couple $1,000 to get it where I wanted it. Okay, so that speaks volumes to how PSA can offer a quality Crink for $1,000. That is a great turnkey solution for someone who's into Kalashnikovs that doesn't want to spend premium money or doesn't want to find this same Saiga and convert it. Now, yes, can you buy unconverted 5.45 and 7.62 by 39 Saiga rifles that are unconverted? Yeah, for $1,000. So see, there you go. It goes back to, do you buy an unconverted Russian Saiga for $1,000 and then spend another $1,500 or $1,800 on it to get it like this one? And that doesn't include the paint, which I painted it myself. But point is, you know, this is an AK that would be worth a couple $1,000, right? Versus buying a PSA for $1,000 and you get a turnkey solution out the door. You know, run some, you know, rattle can Krylon on the dang thing and be done with it. You don't have to even do a fancy paint job. The point is that I think PSA provides a very important service to the 2A community. They do it at a fair price. They have a great warranty. You know, if you do have a problem with a PSA, they're going to make it right. So, you know, don't sit there and think that a possible lemon may not shake out the door from time to time. Of course, that happens with any company. I even had a FN tactical pistol, 45 tactical, FNX tactical, that had an issue with the safety. And it wound up being, you know, figured out that those guns are very difficult to completely disassemble without potentially damaging the safety. And over time, the safeties on those guns do wear out very quickly. And you know, you're talking, I mean, an FNX Tactical is a pretty expensive gun. I mean, you're talking at least $1,000 or so, or whatever, for one of those pistols. Now, I've since gotten rid of my FNX Tactical. However, that's not to say that even a $1,000 FM wasn't without, you know, potential issues, right? I've had some CZs before. I had a CZ Phantom that I bought that had a sticky safety, and I had to replace the safety. And look, sometimes it happens, okay? And you could also send a CZ to Cajun Gun Works and get that thing raging Cajun crazy town if you really want to. Now, that's a whole nother bag of apples. However, the point is, any company who produces something in quantity is, you know, potentially can put out a bad apple from time to time. How they address that bad apple is where the rubber meets the road. And I think PSA does a great job of dealing with customer service issues with complete grace and saying, hey, yeah, we'll make it right, send it back. And from everything I've read and all the accounts I have personally with dealing with PSA, they're pretty good about making anything right if there's ever an issue. So with that being said, I think they're worth a shot. If you are looking for, kind of an entry-level AR or a dagger, Glock clone or something, check them out. They're definitely worth looking into. I would not shy away from it. And like I said, PSA, they have no idea I'm doing this video. I'm not being paid to make this video. It's nothing like that. I just thought this would be an interesting conversation to engage in with my audience because there seems to be a lot of people that love and hate PSA. I'm one of the people that love them. I'm not an elitist. I mean, you got to remember, I can have any dang gun I want, right? I've got a ton of freaking guns, and I've owned versions of all the coolest dang gear you could ever ask for. I mean, I've had every fancy AR, I've had every bump helmet. And for me, it's just gear. To me, is I look at it much more simply in terms of, hey, do I like this particular item or not? I don't really get spun up on what I'm in love with or what I'm not. As a person who talks about gear on this page, for me, I always just approach every single gun as an individual, and I either like it or I don't, and I tell you if I like it or I don't, and that's pretty much where I lie. I would review a Hi-Point pistol more or less the same way as I would a $2,000 H&K. So for me, I'm going to go into it just methodically and treat every single gun as an individual. That's kind of how I like to roll. Now I know, some channels might be a little elitist in the way they do things, and that's fine. There's a lane that everyone can exist in, but I've always generally accepted the fact that that there is a market for guns that are affordable. And for people that may not want to spend money on all the extra fluff and just get something basic, there is a market for that, obviously. And I think that market represents a heck of a lot of people. Look, money's tighter. People, are fighting to survive. It seems like food prices are going up. Things are getting crazy. People are struggling to take care of the everyday essentials. So I don't think it's a problem to save a few bucks on a gun if it's something that will run right and serve you well, and you don't care about all the extra fluff. By all means, consider a PSA, and you're supporting an American company. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Many more on the way, and I appreciate all you very much. I've been taking some time off to do a little bit of work on the house and hang out a bit. It's been the holidays, so I'm finally getting back to cutting some new content. So I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of cool stuff with you guys. So thanks so much. Many more videos on the way, and we'll see you soon.